Personnel Committee meeting. Order, roll call, please.
Fred Vogel,
Here.
Janet Barnett, here. Rich Weinhofer,
Here.
Ron Stanko, and Bill Jenks.
Here.
Next item is public comment. Any public comment this morning?
I have a quick question. I'm curious, I see here we're discussing about personnel review, and I'm interested how is the input from residents taken into consideration? I have not seen that. It looks like it's not. And if there is any mechanism, any feedback because we've had situations in which the behavior towards residents was less than ideal. And I'm curious what are we doing about this? How are we making sure that our employees have the correct attitude? They're ethical, they treat everybody with respect, no matter of the status or whatever, skin color, what have you. So that's my comment. I'd like to see that. I don't know, like I said, I've been here pretty much every event. I don't see that these evaluation forms are complete. I'd like to see something more complete if possible. But that's the question. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other comment?
I think I'll comment on that. Is that appropriate? What's that?
You don't have
Can I,
to. Your own payroll.
I would say that issue is something that should be directly provided to the office, and that should be taken into consideration by that, whatever that issue is with the individual organization that handles those issues, and that should go into the evaluations thereabouts.
I agree. Thank you.
All right, Police Department, personnel review templates.
This is just a follow-up to last month's meeting.
There was a lot of questions about reviews, and I had said that we have, since I've taken over as chief, that we are doing reviews on a yearly basis, and I provided what those evaluations are for the different positions within the agency, so that you could see what it seemed like that was the question, what are we doing, and so that you could see what the actual evaluation is. So, I mean, you'll see that the rating criteria it's needs improvement, satisfactory, and not observed. Quite honestly, all I'm concerned was if they're doing the jobs the way they're supposed to do it, or it needs improved. They have contracts that set their wages and benefits and everything else, so it's not really, I don't need exceeds it, outstanding, that type of thing. I just need to know that they're doing what they're supposed to be doing, how they're supposed to be doing it. So that's why it's limited to just those three. And you can see through there's sections where then the person that performs the evaluation then writes up something more, it's in depth. They're personnel matters, so I didn't provide an actual evaluation. This is the templates that are used. There's a section for the officer to write something down in response to what the supervisor wrote up. And what you also see, there's one of the templates where when these go out, a self-assessment goes out as well, so that every officer has an opportunity to respond how they think they're doing, where they can improve themselves, things that they'd like to do, and that type of thing. So this will be going out in January again, which I've typically been doing it. For this, the way it happens, the sergeants all review their officers assigned to them. The lieutenant now, I have the lieutenant, he's reviewing the sergeants, and then I complete the review for lieutenant. And it's been my understanding that for department heads, and I don't know whether you consider the lieutenant as part of that or not, but to have those reviews done by end of September. I have the lieutenant's almost completed. I finished it while he was away last week on his vacation. I've given it to him because there were sections in that, as you saw that, for him to answer some things and write up. And asked me to get it to me by Friday, so after Friday I'll have his completely done for the year. So I did it from the end of last year, because his last year was mostly as a sergeant, so it kind of fell into that. So it's basically from the end of last year till right now. So then next year's will be from September.
So these evals have been, you started these back when you became chief, so it's not something.
2022 is the first year.
That's fine, I really don't even know why it's come before personnel, I mean, it's not a,
No,
it's not a council decision.
There was questions and concerns, so I wanted everyone to know that.
We know about it.
Yeah, but I just wanted to make sure, okay, this is something that you have been using and it works well for you.
Sounds like your process is very well thought out and it's interactive, which is a good thing. Also, your form seems pretty comprehensive. In contrast to some of the forms we've seen, yours does a better job of aligning the essential elements of the job with what you're evaluating. Some of the other forms we saw in other meetings seemed pretty wussy, and we did not get down to critiquing them on the essential elements. So, my compliments on your form and your process.
So can I ask you a question? Is there more to this? Because there was more to what was sent out.
About 4 pages, 4 pages.
Yeah, what the rest of this page?
But there was a different one for the sergeant.
It was different ones, different offices.
Or 2 different ones.
There was one for the supervisors, one for
So what's the
patrol, one for detectives.
And
So
there's a
along
self-evaluation.
the bottom, the last one, notice the shift change. What's that?
What's that, this one?
Yeah.
This is the one I'm doing for the lieutenant.
So I'm just confused as to why the detail for the lieutenants is different than the patrolmen. I mean, it's all stuff that you would expect the lieutenants to do, and it's all stuff that you would expect your rank and file police officers to do as they grow into their position and get promoted. That stuff would be equally as relevant to their promotion as it would be for to continue. The lieutenant's not going anywhere. He's where he is.
The lieutenant is not under the same contract that the other officers are, as I said, with the patrol officers, the sergeants. They are under their contract, they're getting their raises based upon, what the union has agreed with the council. So all I need to know is whether they're doing the job or not. The lieutenant and I, our contracts state, our raises are based upon our evaluation, and that we have a satisfactory evaluation. So there's more detail in his, because I believe that there then needs to be, because his contract for his raise is dependent upon that it's satisfactory. So that's why I have the more detail for his.
It seems counterintuitive that your rank and file officers shouldn't be subject to the same categories.
When you look at, I don't know if you've actually looked at it, most of those same categories are there.
On what I'm looking at right now.
You have to pull up, that's like I said for the lieutenant, but you look at all the categories that a patrol officer is evaluated upon, and when you go down, you keep going down, it's just laid out differently. That's all.
When you say categories, do you mean the vertical lines on the LTs or the horizontal lines?
Both.
Okay, the vertical lines are there,
Right.
the horizontal lines are replaced by only 3, correct? So for LT, you have all of them because that's what his evaluation is based on, but for the other officers, it's just the 3 because of the collective bargaining agreement.
The collective bargaining agreement is a red herring, it has nothing to do with performance evaluations. The collective bargaining agreement says what it says, it's pretty hard and fast. The specifics to the officer's performance can be more detailed and is not at all related to their union activity. And that's my experience, it's the 2 different stories. Whatever's worth, it really, at this
I
point,
think
it
it's
doesn't
good.
matter.
I think these are more than sufficient. It does address interpersonal skills, which, how they, ability to communicate with the public and community members, so that's a factor in there to address the public. Okay, but we don't have to take any action, this is just information purposes only. So thanks for getting that to us, Chief, and we'll move on. Agenda. All right, item 5 is a fire department technician position updates. Chief Holmes?
Good morning. So there's been some changes in the way that a few of the requirements that the technicians were to obtain after they've been promoted have been updated with the different training academies and the state. The primary one there, letter A, is the EVOC Instructor, so Emergency Vehicle Operators Course Instructor credential. There's a couple components that go into that. Is to be able to teach the class, you have to be an instructor that's qualified and tied to some sort of teaching platform. So Bucks County Community College, Harrisburg Area Community College, the State Fire Academy. And the amount of resources that you need to keep on hand to be able to run that class and teach it on an annual basis to maintain your knowledge is way too much more than we have the ability to store at the firehouse. We're talking hundreds of codes, the ability to lay out a driving course to do it. This came about previously with the creation of these positions and just hasn't been updated. So my intent today is to provide you with that information to see if we can remove that from the job description because we don't have staff outside of a few of us that have taken the time to become aligned with the community colleges to teach or met those credentials to be able to teach.
And the CDL requirement is still in the job
Yes.
description as well.
And they don't need that to do their job,
No.
that's the most important.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's a nice thing, but to take the class, it's $500 to take the class.
This is, it has any adverse impact on the safety of the community? What's the second one, Chief? Aerial pumper driver?
So the aerial pumper driver operator is another class that was specified as additional requirements in the job description. Still kind of on the fence about this one because I see there is a benefit to it. However, the candidates who are, or the staff that are in this position would need to put in additional training before they can go and challenge this test through one of the community colleges. They'd have to put in almost 80 more hours worth of training on top of just going to take the class to take the test. The State Fire Academy doesn't require those same prerequisites that the community colleges do, which in my mind shows that there's a loophole because we're not holding people to the same standard depending on where they're testing. I think it's a great option. I think it supports the driving of the apparatus, especially the aerial, because it is such a large piece of fire equipment. To have that as an optional thing that they can go after and challenge is great, but I don't think that it needs to be specified as a required within so many months of appointment, because not everybody wants to go after that, and we have the CDLB requirement to be able to drive the apparatus already.
Who was in charge of training now? Or the positions, one of the captains?
Yes, Captain Canto is overseeing our training.
Right, so I would imagine there are X amount of hours before an individual can be, quote, certified in aerial operations and or driving.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we have a whole driver training program where they have to document their hours behind the wheel and then have to go out for a final exam with me to sign off that they're qualified to drive the apparatus. We do annual refresher training on certain critical skills to be able to operate both the aerial and the pumper, which is all done in-house and tracked to make sure that people are staying fluent with their abilities.
So in your estimation, the current staff, there's an adequate number of people that are qualified to drive?
Out of the department, I have 4 people who are not qualified to drive yet. And that is firefighter Marnell, Parkins, Yasso, and Hoon, who just started. So, and coming up next year, they'll go through their Class B CDL class and they'll earn that, and then be able to start working towards meeting the driver operator requirements that we have in-house.
So right now it's just the rookies, if you will.
Yeah.
Are the guys rotating around that are capable of doing the driving, or they just, the guys?
So with having the technician position, that if there's a technician on that shift, they're responsible to drive. Filling the overtime, they do, if they're not a technician, have that opportunity to drive. And then currently on C shift, because that position is vacant with a promotional process running right now to fill that, they've been alternating between the 2 firefighters on there because we've had so much excessive overtime.
Okay. Any other questions or comments for the chief?
Where do we stand with the assistant chief's position?
Civil service?
Yes.
Because I was asked if, yeah, I knew civil service, I got involved with it. So is it going to be re-advertised?
It will be hopefully here in the very near future.
Because I was approached by somebody who wishes to apply. I said, I think it's still open, but I will double check.
It's not open
Yeah, it's
yet.
not
It
Well, I
will
mean, it will
open.
be, yeah.
It will, yes.
Yeah, under the new process.
Yes.
Okay, so we need a motion to approve the chief's recommendation of fire department technician position updates as discussed. Anybody
So
moving?
So moved. Second.
Moving second, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None, the ayes have it. We'll make that recommendation to council, I presume. Okay. All right,
Thank you.
thanks, chief. We're at a time where there's executive session scheduled, so we'll go into executive session at this time.
There will be no action coming out of executive session.